Hi, I'm Sandy Schreck, and we wanted to show you today some highlights from our tribute class. We're really seeing a lot of changes in the area of tribute in personalization, and so as we had our students do the different collections yesterday, we're going to come along and just show you some highlights. A lot of the easels here were made in the mache back wreaths, and so we utilize those, but really talk to like how can you make it a larger presence so that we can increase that perceived value. And so here you see a heart that started off with, everybody kind of had an assignment on this, was for a gardener, so you have a heart shape, but utilize some of the springerai to just be able to cover that edge really fast and easy, but also extend it down to kind of create more dramatic effect on that heart. As we move into our next piece, you can see that we utilized the Italian ruscus to extend the heart and add some negative space, and then a trailing piece down at the other end. So you'll see the blend of the focals. We were really focusing on doing things in groupings so it wasn't so dotty and bringing those pieces in. But to create this more dramatic effect, we actually are introducing new products. And so the bamboo greening pin was the way that you can come on here. And so you just bring that in and that bamboo pin expands so that you can add some tension into your designs and create a more dramatic effect. Sometimes the budget doesn't allow for the use of those mache back forms, so the assignment on this student was to create a cross shape in the grande cage. So we used the midnight grande cage to create this structure, and you can see they created a strong vertical line coming in with the liatris and birch branches, and then we have a contrasting line coming through on the crosses. So if you're making it, you have to remember the dimensions of 1/3 out to the side, and 2/3 down. So that's going to give you that proper dimensions for a cross. But then on here, what we did is did a nice diagonal line, so the cross becomes a little bit more subtle and yet is still present, but creating that diagonal line creates great visual interest throughout this composition. As we move to our next design, this was made in the square mache back wreath, and we hung it on the diagonal. And one of the challenges was to have two kind of focal areas. So here you can see the veggie roses create a base focal here, and then we come up with some of the LBR grown lilies that come up into the top and become a more dominant focal. So the challenge was to have two focal areas, but have them work together. And so you can see how they tied those together. Unifying that, the variegated pittosporum helped to bring some of that yellow color into the foliage accents, and then adding some of the curly willow added that more dynamic lines as well. And so that really helped to bring that together and add that visual interest with the contrasting textures and the different lines coming together. And lastly, we come into our updated version of Butterfly Garden. So creating a story that goes with an arrangement. On here, we utilized and wanted them to create more of a spiral presence. So utilizing some of the palm that brought that spiral presence in. We did the springerai on the edge and then just held it in with a couple of the greening pins, and then coming in trying to do some color blocking. And so the butterfly is a symbol of rebirth, and so it's a great story for customers to be able to tell and talk about at the service, and it's a great way to personalize something and think about the future. I'm Sandy Schreck for LBR Educates, and this was our highlights from our tribute class.